I think this is probably going to be the first time that we say this anywhere um, publicly.
Today, I'm going to be interviewing one of the best card show promoters in the Mid-Atlantic, 757 Card Shows, champions of the free-to-get-in card show. 757 Card Shows is headed by Phil and Russ. Russ is stopping by to talk about all things card show promotion. I really appreciate you coming on tonight. It is super, super great, and the shows you do are awesome, and taking the time to talk with some folks on my channel and everywhere else about the card show environment is super exciting. So thanks for coming on.
Oh man, I sure appreciate you having me on tonight.
Outstanding. Let's get right into the questions,
All
shall
right,
we?
let's get into them.
What on earth made you want to become a card show promoter?
That's a loaded question. I've been involved with card shows. I started doing card shows as a vendor when I was like 12, 13 years old. Went to college, did a little bit during college, and then there was like a 10-year time between college and after college not being. I would go to shows every once in a while, but then I got into it big time. I want to say 10 years ago or so, or I'm just getting really old. And I started doing the shows at the Witch Duck Bingo Hall, and then it moved to one in Norfolk, and then we were at the one that's currently at the Pembroke Bingo Hall. And the fellow that had been running it there for a while, getting a little older, and he was selling cards and a promoter at the same time also. And he kind of just came to Phil and I and said, "Hey man, it's physically it's getting a little too much for me." And he thought we would be good candidates. I was helping him previously with some marketing stuff. I started the Facebook page for him. You know, when you're 70-ish years old, and the words Facebook, Instagram, and are probably foreign to you. And he said, "Yeah, whatever, Russell. What? Just do that." So I already gotten my. I wouldn't say foot in the door with it, but I was already doing marketing for the show a bit with what little shoestring budget I was allowed. And then it just was natural for my partner and I, Phil, to take over the show. And our coming up show, January 14th, will be our 2-year anniversary of us.
Wow.
Having the show all by itself. Yeah.
That's pretty amazing, to think, and we'll get into it a little farther later, but for anyone that watches, they've seen some of the content from what you guys do at the Fieldhouse show, and to think, you guys got to 160, 200 tables in that massive venue in 2 years is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was, having taken over like a 40-ish table show, and now it's 180. I think we're going to be up to 180 at the February show. People kind of called me crazy that this area couldn't support anything like that, and somebody tried 20 years ago and it was a disaster, and good luck, or I'll be there when you do it.
Sure.
And lo and behold, here we are. We like I said, a 40 table show up to, now having the second largest show in Virginia. So
it's pretty amazing. It's a phenomenal show. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. It's pretty great. So to put on a show the way you do at the bingo hall, which is, even in the bingo hall, it's what is it, 60, 80 tables, something like that?
No, we're right at 90. It's
90. Okay.
I think 89 is the cap, I think.
Okay. So for that, or even obviously the megalith that is the Fieldhouse show, like when you're putting something like that on, what are the things that you have to do on the back end that like nobody sees? All the legwork and hours and time to do something like that.
It's either one's a big undertaking. And I tell you what, the week leading up to especially the Fieldhouse show, it's I've got a full-time job for one thing, and then all my extra time the week leading up to it is Fieldhouse stuff, and from putting together vendor badges, that is very time consuming. There's to save money, we basically print them ourselves. We buy the badge kits, and then so the badges come and the loops we have to connect it to the badge holder. Then we got to insert the. I mean, stuff like that takes hours because we're putting together probably like 200 of them, and just the time to do that. Now the field house, the one of the most difficult parts and behind the scenes things that probably nobody understands how long it takes and how much bandwidth it takes is table assignments for the vendors. It's I equate it to, table assignment or seat assignments at a wedding. You know,
Sure.
can't have this person next to this person. Well, we got to group this kind of group of people together because they're together, and it's usually like the Wednesday before the show. Phil and I meet at the field house, and we sit down and we go over the table assignments. Now it's getting easier and easier because we're at capacity, um, table wise in the field house. You'll see next time we're going to put probably 10 or so people outside,
Okay.
as you're
Okay.
walking in, kind of surrounding the plexiglass of the field house itself, and that's designed for us to put some people out there, but to allow more room in the back for our autograph guests. Because the one thing that we've learned and it's evolved is, the larger the autograph guests that we get is the larger the line for them.
Right.
And it's a good problem to have unless you're that vendor who, so we're allowing more room in the back. There's a buffer of area. We're not going to have as many vendors along the back line to allow lines, a little bit more buffer. So then now we have to put 10 or so tables on the outside of the field house. So anybody that has not been to this field house show, so it's literally in this large practice indoor facility, and there's three uh, practice soccer fields. They're 180 feet by 90 feet soccer fields. So we're actually set up on turf. So that's one of the cool parts about it is you're on turf, and your feet don't hurt as much after the show because you've got that cushion.
Sure.
But so the plexiglass surrounds the field itself. So like I said, we'll have some vendors that are set up on the outside as consumers or attendees that are walking into the show.
Okay. That's actually that's pretty cool. I mean, the fact that you're able to surge, even that much is pretty good. Because I know, I mean, disclaimer for everybody watching. I mean, I set up at the show, and it's a phenomenal show, and you guys do a tremendous job. But yeah, it does feel a lot like uh, capacity when you're in there. I mean, there's plenty of room to walk in the aisles, but yeah, I don't know where you would possibly consider getting another
Yeah,
table.
I mean, there are probably some other promoters that could squeeze 50 more tables out of there. But a lot of the decisions that I try and make, and Phil and I try to make, it's putting our hats on as back as the vendor and or the attendee. What makes sense for them? Because we don't have to. A lot of the decisions that we make aren't due to finances, because both my partner and I, Phil, we have full-time jobs that support our families.
Right.
And a lot of the money that we get from the show, we put back into the show through advertising, getting good autograph guests. We host a trade night the night before, which, we don't charge people to go to trade night, and we feed people. I mean, that's a $500 bill
Sure.
that we have to pay to feed everybody that comes to trade night. We don't have to do that. We enjoy it. Honestly, my favorite part of the whole weekend for the Fieldhouse show is trade night. It's very relaxing, because the 10 hours leading up to trade night, we're putting the tables together, and it's a lot of manual labor. People don't understand the manual labor that's involved with a lot with promoting. We're not nationals or Chantilly or something like that, Philly show, where they're probably paying a company to put all these tables together. It's me, Phil, and a couple of our buddies, and we're lugging 180 tables, 220 some chairs, and configuring a trade show, and then we get to go to trade night. So, which is the fun part, because it's the one time that we actually get to sit down, talk with people. We're feeding them. Everybody's in a good mood. So,
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you kind of opened up the door to this question, I guess, when you mentioned the National and Chantilly.
yeah,
Larger card shows. Now, obviously, the National's exceptionally large. Dallas is
yeah,
big, Chantilly's big, but a lot of shows, even some smaller ones that I've been to, whether it be in North Carolina, Maryland, or wherever, everybody charges an entry fee. Sometimes it's $25, sometimes it's $5. But what makes you say, hey, I want to have a 200 table card show or even a 90 table card show on a weekend, knowing for well that you could charge everybody a couple bucks and they would just reach into their pocket and pull it out? What makes you say, nah, you know what? We want to keep this thing free.
again, it's putting that hat back on to the attendee. Or would 12-year-old Russell approve of this?
That's great. That's a great way to look at it.
And even if we started charging for admission, kids would be free. Obviously, I mean that'd be, there'd be no reason not to do that. But Phil and I are proud of the fact that, to our knowledge, that we're the largest show on the East Coast that does not charge admission.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, everybody, a lot of the questions that we get on our Instagram pages and Facebook pages when we are advertising the Fieldhouse show is, how much is admission? That's
Right.
beyond questions about the autograph guest. It's, how much is admission? And when we say free, people freak out. And but again, it's putting that hat back on, of being an attendee. And I'm not trying to put barriers up for people to come into the show. Principle alone, people would maybe, maybe 5% of the people would be, I'm not going to go to the show because there's admission to it. I'll just wait till the
Sure.
next free one.
Right.
And as a promoter, you want to get as many people through the door.
Sure.
And I feel like a barrier is admission.
Makes sense. I mean,
And again, a lot of the decisions that we make are not financial decisions, because again, we don't need this to make, I don't need this to have my next meal. And we put a lot of it back into the show to make it better. And I think us not charging admission, especially with the Fieldhouse show, it being that large, really differentiates us from, I don't want our show to be a 250, 300 table show. I think for Phil and I, that's our bandwidth of capacity before it turns into something not fun. Because it's still fun for
sure.
us.
Right.
And the best part of it is, yes, we do go around at the end of the show, we collect money, but when the vendors tell us, hey man, this is a great show, I made so much money, or man, I picked up this card because of this, or I got a whole bunch of cards in trade for this, that's that's what tells me that this was a good show, is when, one, the vendors tell us that they made money and were able to pick up cards. And all the messages that we get post show from attendees just saying how much they enjoyed it, is really why we're still doing it, and
Sure.
and trying to not turn it into a business.
I mean, you talk about doing these shows and the fact that you have, a full-time job. Both of you have full-time
Mm-hmm.
jobs, families. Like, how do you possibly divide Because no matter how hard you want to change things, right? There's 24 hours in a day, no
Yeah.
matter what you do. Like how do you fit in the time to put on events like you do, still have a full-time job and still have family? Like how much time do you think on average, a week you put into the shows?
Oh, the week leading up to it, I'd honestly say it's probably a good 20, 30 hours extra. I mean, just to get to it, not the event itself. Um, and each so I take off that Friday also.
Okay.
I mean, I just have to take that day off from work also, and Phil does the same thing where we can't go to work because by 10, 11 o'clock we're slugging tables and chairs and
Right, right, right.
the field house itself doesn't have tables. We rent them. So they're just the rental company brings them and they're just stacked up 20 deep.
Oh,
It's not like at the bingo hall where they're already there and we just have to slide them into a different configuration. I mean, we're
sure.
slugging tables onto the field, putting it together, and I mean it's usually takes us from the time that we start to finish to get get all the tables, get all the chairs. You're a vendor. We've got an information page that we have for everybody. Your name tag, and then the envelopes for you to put your table money in there. To do all that, it's 5-6 hours for us to do that. Then it leaves us just enough time to head back to the house, or the field house itself has showers. So that way we can take a shower and change. Luckily I live about 15, 20 minutes from the field house.
I can't even I can't even imagine like the amount of time. I mean, again, it's tremendous. You make me feel a little guilty. Next time after the February show, I'm gonna have to stick around and help pick up tables because now I feel horrible.
Oh, we take volunteers. I mean,
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'll stick around next time a little longer, fold up some more tables. I promise.
yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
sure you don't
because
want
because
to.
then because then when the show's over, um, like one time we had to have everything off in like an hour and a half because they had
Oh,
like soccer tournaments going on.
right.
So you know, it normally takes us about an hour and a half to disassemble everything, but when you have to get it done in 90 minutes.
Yeah, I can't even. Can't even. Now, you probably don't want to talk specifics, but can you generally speak, give us an idea of like if someone's thinking about doing this, and obviously geolocation and urban or rural, all those kind of things would make a difference. But about what would you say it costs you to put on like the bingo hall, like a smaller like bingo hall type show compared to like the field house? Like, is it insanity or is it something
No,
that
I mean
bootstrap you could do?
just for like general terms. I mean, you're probably at a smaller venue. I mean, you're talking anywhere between 500 to $1,000 to rent a facility. Um, we spend a large chunk in advertising. I mean, for the Fieldhouse show, we run radio ads. I buy banner ads on certain sites. Crave the Auto. We buy their premium listings for the autograph guest. I up my Google ads, Facebook, Instagram ads. So I mean, sometimes the advertising, can really get up there. Now for the Fieldhouse show, a show like that, I mean, we honestly probably we make less money per table at the Fieldhouse show than the Bingo Hall show, which is
Okay.
again that's a 90 table show, and this Fieldhouse we're at about 175 ish, and we make less per table because the expenses are a lot more. It costs a lot more for the Fieldhouse itself.
Sure.
We're putting on a trade night. We rent the tables now at the Bingo Hall. The tables are already there, so it's already into. I mean, we spend more to rent the tables than we do probably that we spend putting on the Bingo Hall show all together. It just to rent
Wow.
tables.
Wow.
Um, I feel and I know that our table prices are still very, very low compared to what we probably could charge. I mean,
Oh, for sure.
there's local shows in our area that you get two 6-foot tables for $125, and it's a 40-50 table show, where we're putting on a 180 table show with multiple guests. 800 to 1,000 people are going to walk through the door, and we're charging $110, $115 for two 8-foot tables
Right.
for a much bigger show. So, could we charge more? Again, I mean, it comes back to a lot of the decisions that we make aren't financial. Yes,
Sure.
we've raised prices once or twice since we've taken over, but that's just because we've incurred a lot of expenses. We've eaten a lot of them. But we're also advertising a lot more than, I mean, not to, so we're probably spending more to advertise the Fieldhouse show than other, smaller shows are probably in their whole year budget.
Right. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like after, chatting previously and now talking with you here, I feel like I kind of have a gauge for maybe what the answer is to this question, but nevertheless. Uh, so now this doesn't apply to the bingo hall show as much as it does the field house.
Okay.
You've got a trade night Friday night, right? Which is great. You have a good turnout. It's phenomenal. I have to make it there one time. I still have failed on that front, not making it to the trade night.
We know. Hey, you got to go through a tunnel, so I can excuse you on that. Yeah.
I mean, maybe one night I'll get the family and we'll stay in a hotel overnight or something like that, to pull it off or something. But
hey, maybe the May one, you stay at the ocean front for the weekend, and
worst ways to live,
right?
And so you have the trade night on Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
then Saturday you have the show.
Yes.
Have you given thought to just turn into a whole weekend?
We have, and I think for the Fieldhouse show, it we would have to significantly raise our table prices and have to charge a fee, an entry fee. What would kill us with having a second night at the Fieldhouse would be we would have to pay for the amount of, so the show ends at 4, right? Then we would have to pay for 5 more hours of the field. Even if they weren't using it, we'd have to pay for 5 more hours of the field and the next day, and security, which we'd have to go through. The field house is run by a corporation, so it'd have to be through their corporate approved security, and that'd be, because people aren't gonna. We have vendors that probably have $250,000, $500,000 of inventory at their tables.
Sure.
And you have to have, if you're leaving that stuff overnight, you have to have security, be it me and Phil sleeping overnight, or an actual security people there, and that's not cheap. Now I think this is probably going to be the first time that we say this anywhere publicly, but March at the bingo hall, we're going to do a 2-day show.
Oh, awesome.
So
very cool.
Finally got the approval from the bingo hall to do that. Again, it's we've got the security lined up. That's not an arm and a leg, but we trust the people that are going to do it. And so March, it'll be March 25th, 26th, we'll have a 2-day show at the bingo hall.
That's awesome. And you're not going to be able to have a full-time job sometime soon. You guys are just going to take over the Mid-Atlantic at the rate you're going.
Nope.
Nope.
Again, this is it's still fun.
Right.
I don't want it to turn into a job.
Sure.
When it starts turning into that, because Phil and I, we have conversations on where do we take this next, or is there a next?
Right. It's pretty
Is
great what you're doing right now. I
oh, I
mean,
mean, it's not broken.
no,
I mean, we have fun. We know the attendees have fun. Our vendors are having fun and they're making money.
yep,
And but everybody wants us to grow the Fieldhouse show. And again, it's a lot of work on us to put this
sure,
on, and we don't have a staff. I mean,
right. Your staff is two,
our staff is, hey Phil, hey Russ. I mean, again, we got a couple buddies that help us out with the tables, but um, that's a lot of work for two people to put on a show of this size. I think,
yeah.
and I don't know too many other people doing that that often, but or I can't compare it to really anything else. I can only
No, like it's mind-boggling, honestly. To be completely honest with you,
yeah. And then the other thing is that if we were to get bigger, where do we go? We've reached
right.
out to convention centers, we've reached out to a couple of hotels, and again, I mean, for the field house, even though we have to rent the tables, I mean, you're talking a significant increase in pricing to go from something that's 175 to 180 tables to something that's 225, 250, to the
Sure.
point where, again, now we have to charge admission. I have to significantly raise table prices. Um, and at that point, Phil and I are both vending promoters. So, both of us, we were vendors for
Right.
years before doing this show.
Sure.
And so we're vending promoters. So, I mean, I know that my actual wish is that somebody could put on a show as well as Phil and I do, and then I could just be a vendor, because I
Right.
know I know as a vendor I take significant financial hits because I'm not at my table all the time.
Right. You got to focus on
Oh,
taking
I got
care of
yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah, I got to make sure, people like you are happy.
Oh, am I that hard to deal with?
And it's not one thing specific. It's just it's an all day thing. I mean, it's you figure
Sure.
you got 180 tables, and there's at any given time a couple hundred people at the field house at one time. I mean, we don't know how many people come through the door, but our rough estimate is anywhere between 800 to 1,000 people
That's
are coming through the door. I mean,
amazing. It
yeah, I mean,
really is.
you
Yeah, and you
know,
get that. I'm sure it was a thought in y'all's head, but when you're doing the show, if there's other stuff going on at the field house, because you don't charge anything, you get a lot of bleed over of people,
oh, that was the
coming over
major
from that.
appeal for us in that place is it's instant audience
Right.
without they're sports oriented, because you've got on the side that we're on. I mean, it's a huge facility. It's like the largest practice facility on the East Coast, and there's 3 large soccer fields on our side. Then you got the whole other side, and that's got volleyball courts, another soccer field, basketball courts. Upstairs, they even have they've got like a half soccer field for kids. They've got like a little lacrosse field up there. So I mean, that was a big appeal to us. Is all right. Well, there's a instant audience of sports oriented
Sure.
people already there. It probably I'd imagine at least 100 people are just because they're walking through, and they you see the little kids and they're still in their soccer jerseys from practice, and it's, hey mommy, hey daddy, buy me this. And
Right.
then that would be, so back to admission would be, would that mother or father take their kid into the show on a whim? If yes, the kids would be free, but am I gonna pop out $3, $5 to,
Right.
I don't know what this is, type of thing. So again, I'm not,
Great.
no barriers, and it's free admission. So
That's a great point.
Yeah.
At these shows, I'm pretty impressed with the autograph guests you get. Like I know you just started releasing stuff for the show coming up. I mean, Dwight Gooden,
Yeah.
Oil Can Boyd, Howard Johnson. Last show was Clinton Portis. You've had some Hall of
Jesse
Fame wrestlers,
Barfield.
et
Yeah.
cetera, et cetera, et cetera. How do you even begin to get people like that, or even bigger, to come to shows like this?
Network. Um, early on, I mean, I took over the show and I had no idea. I'm talking no idea of how to even entertain a autograph guest. And I with the autograph guest, my decisions are based on a couple different things. I want local people, or somebody that played, for the Redskins, the Baltimore Orioles. This is a huge Mets town because for years and years and years it was a AAA team for the Mets.
Right.
So that's why we bring in a lot of Mets guys, is because of that. So, um, man, I tell you what, Facebook and Instagram have been my best friends when it comes to reaching out to a lot of the guys I've gotten just because I've reached out to them directly on Instagram, or network wise. I work with basically two different, I wouldn't call them autograph agents, but they're connected.
Right.
And so work through a couple agent type people, and then just Instagram's been my best friend. I mean, it's amazing how I just reach out, I'll message. We got take like Shamarko Thomas that we had at the bingo hall, local kid, played at Ocean Lakes, still lives in the area. Reached out to him on Instagram. He's like, "Hey man, that sounds like an awesome idea. Let's do it." And now that I've gotten, a lot of the other local guys, now some of the local guys are going, "Hey, reach out to this guy," or so it starts to snowball a little bit once you get some of these local guys. And then, when I'm reaching out to them, I'll be like, "Hey, we've had X, Y, and Z at the show," and so it gives us a certain level of credit, or that our credentials are good. We started branching out to bringing in wrestlers, which has
Right.
been really, you know, I didn't know that we were the market for it, but I guess our show is a good market for wrestlers, because, we didn't have any vendors selling wrestling, memorabilia, cards, or that type of stuff. But tell you what, we've brought in, the three wrestlers that we've brought in so far. I mean, it's been great experiences with all of them. We're working on bringing two more to the Fieldhouse show. Now we're getting people in the wrestling community reaching out to us, wanting, because
Aha.
we had Barry Horowitz at the Fieldhouse show last time.
Right.
He's a good friend of mine now, and
That's
I've probably
crazy.
talked to him 2 or 3 times since that. Emailed him. I'm trying to get him some other gigs with people I know. But I mean, he's telling everybody that he knows about our show, because show is good. We treated them with respect. We put all the guys up in hotels. We do car service for them when we
Oh
fly
wow.
them in. We do car service for them to and from their hotel, from the hotel to the field house, from the field house to the. So we take care of them, and again, we're able to, luckily, and so then that has allowed us, that hey, these guys are going to take care of you.
Right.
And now people are reaching out to us going, "Hey, can we bring somebody? Not just, hey, I got this guy, pay us money to bring him in. It's, hey, I want to bring this guy in to your show." And which has been great.
Wow, that's awesome. All right. I know a lot of what we talked about is like, hey, this is what you have to do, and rainbows and butterflies, if you will,
Yeah.
all the greatness of everything. But you know, I mean, we see it, as vendors or just going to shows in general. Things aren't always perfect. There's arguments. There's
Yeah.
shady stuff that goes on. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Have you guys ever had to kick anybody out of one of the shows? And if so, like where? How do you figure out like a line, or where, like, if this is don't do it again and this is get out?
You know, it, one, we so at the bingo hall for years and years and years, there was no, the show started at 9, but people started coming in 8, 8:30, and I want to say it was the second or third month that we had took over, and you'd look around and it'd be 8:30, and the place would be loaded with people already. And one month we had a couple vendors come up to us and go, "Hey, I think I had something stolen from me while I was setting up." Right?
Okay.
So we heard it once, so we're like, "Okay." Well, the next show comes around, and now multiple vendors are coming up to us with significant. One guy had like a Zion Prism Hollow rookie stolen from him. We're talking, so we have a good idea who it was.
Okay.
They never came back, but with the bingo hall, we don't let anybody until 9 o'clock.
Right.
Um, you know, so we had to institute that to pivot to what was going on, to our vendors telling us, hey, and they're telling us, hey, I think it's during setup, because we vendors start setting up at 7, the show opens up at 9, but I mean, not everybody shows up at 7 to start
Right.
setting up. And years before, I'd be, the most guys knew the etiquette. If somebody's still setting up their table, don't go to their table. And the old hats, if you want to call them that, they knew the rules. And if you're still setting up, they just didn't. But I mean, this was just you'd still have boxes you're lugging in, and you have multiple people going through boxes that were stacked, still going like so. And then again, people told us that they thought for sure that during setup they had stuff stolen, so we had to institute that. Now, at one of the Fieldhouse shows, there was a kid, one of the vendors' sons was stealing.
Oh.
10 years old,
Oh
and
man.
he was doing the old, walk around with a magazine and put cards underneath the magazine and then walk away.
Right.
Obviously, he wasn't very good at it, because we had 3 vendors come up to us going, "Hey, that kid right there stole from us."
Wow.
Now, we went up to the father, and Phil and I go up and talk to him, which you can only imagine it's got to be an awkward conversation. But
For sure.
the way the conversation went, he wasn't terribly surprised either.
Oh gosh.
And he made the kid give back everything and apologize to each person. I mean, that's the closest that we've come from banning or kicking anybody out.
Okay.
We've been actually pretty lucky. Once we instituted the nobody at 9 o'clock, I mean, we've had a couple instances where somebody says, "Hey, I think something was stolen." Even myself, I still think I had like a Ronald Acuna Topps Chrome rookie stolen from me at one point.
Ugh.
But I've heard vendors say when they go to like something like nationals that they just they bake in 10% being stolen.
Right. It's
It's
unfortunate,
sad to say something like it, and it's you hate to see it, but I think we have a pretty good community where we're
yeah.
at. You got some bad seeds. There are some people that we know, if they come back in the door, that their eyes going to be all over them.
Right. Right.
And but luckily they haven't come back, because I think they know that we know.
Sure.
And but yeah, no, we haven't had to ban anybody. I mean, it's again,
Great.
we've been lucky. So
That's awesome.
yeah, but I think a lot of it comes from the top down too, is where we Phil and I try and have a good culture, and I think it just trickles down to the vendors, then the vendors down to the attendees, and then it's full circles. So then if we take care of the vendors take care of the attendees are the ones that take care of all of us, because without them we have nothing. So
Sure. So, I mean, we kind of touched on a little bit earlier with the fact that we know there's a lot of shows in the area, and a few
Mhm.
promoters in the area. It's not just you guys. Do you feel like as a whole, whether it be just in the area or overall, that we used to have a couple of big shows a year, and then there was local stuff, right? And now there's Dallas, there's Chantilly, there's um,
Philly.
Philly, Vegas,
Raleigh's a big show. Hickory's really big. I mean,
yeah, Raleigh's. I mean, is the card show scene, do you think, getting like oversaturated? Like there's too many, or do you think we can kind of support it all?
I think we're at a tipping point right now where if there were more now, I think they would suffer. Yeah, I mean, there's still probably pockets of areas that we've looked at, doing some on the peninsula side ourselves.
I'm
We get
interested.
asked. Yeah, we get asked all the time. And we're 757 card shows, so the peninsula is part of 757. So I guess we should support that area. Problem with that is, we've been looking for a location, just haven't found one yet.
Right.
Um, um, I don't know if there's a lot more collectors in this space. Everything we got to talk about is pre-COVID and post-COVID
Sure.
when it comes to our hobby. And post-COVID, we had that silly time where prices were all the way up here
Yep.
and everybody was making money hand over fist, and you had a lot of those flippers in the space, and I think that most of them have been weeded out, but I think there's more collectors today than
Agreed.
there was pre-COVID. And I think people are smarter with their buying decisions. If I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. Is I think the consumer's probably walking in with the same amount of money, but instead of buying two cards that are, again, I'm going to use general terms of money, but let's say I walk in the show with $1,000.
Mhm.
A year ago, 18 months ago, if I walked in with that $1,000, I was looking for two cards or one card for $1,000 or two cards for $500.
Right.
Now, I'm walking in with that $1,000 and I'm getting 50 cards at $20 or 20 cards at $50.
Right.
It's a little different spinning. I think the high end market has suffered a lot.
Sure.
Um, but if you're in that, value boxes will never go away.
No. No. They are
Never
a
ever.
cash cow. They are a cash cow.
That's the cash cow, man. I mean, I got my boxes over here. I got dollar boxes, 50-cent boxes, half off boxes. And I mean, I can go shows without even opening up my showcase.
Right.
And, but people are just rifling through the value boxes. And, if you're showing up with a $25,000, Justin Herbert gold refractor rookie, grade at
Mhm.
10 signed, and you bring it to a local show, it's not going to sell there. I mean, you might get lucky and have that one guy but if you've got 28 different Joe Burrow just regular rookie cards, you'll probably sell a bunch of them.
Right. I know. Before you graced me with the ability to set up at the Fieldhouse show, after coming and spending all my money there, a few times. Part of it was, looking at the market and what people set up at there, and it seems to
Mm-hmm.
me like I look at it as like three tiers, right? Like low, middle, mid, and high, and you have some areas that are best for super low, dollar cards, $5 cards, $10 cards, and you've got your nationals and your Chantilly's and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, where you can bring your case full of $10,000 cards and you'll sell a few.
Yeah.
This market, the $25 to $500 card seems to be the real sweet spot at places like the Fieldhouse and the Bingo Hall, and people are coming in with that kind of money to buy that type of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so so and I know we talked about, you said a lot of the flippers are gone. So if you were classifying yourself, are you a collector, an investor, a flipper, a promoter, or some kind of hybrid of everything?
Super hybrid. I try not to be a flipper. I mean, um, but yeah. So my personal collection is oral stuff. I
Okay.
mean, if most people don't know my name, they just know me as the oral guy. It's and
Right,
it's
right.
fun and it's funny that there's probably a good number of people at the show that I don't know their name, but I know exactly what they collect.
Sure.
And there's probably at least two or three people that I have stacks of cards for them when they get there. I don't even know their name. But is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? But it's I know exactly what they collect. I know exactly
Right.
what they're looking for. But I mean, until I probably took over the show and my name was plastered over at places, I'd say 75% of the people at the shows just knew me as the Oriole guy. Because I always
Right.
had an Oriole shirt, always had an Oriole hat on, and I bought Oriole stuff.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, hey,
Absolutely.
Oriole guy.
So
Um, but yeah, I mean
to
that's I try and be an investor a little bit, but it's hard to hold on to a lot of stuff when you're vending all the time.
yeah, that's true. That's really true.
Uh, I do have a box over here that occasionally I'll throw stuff in there, and I don't look at that box for a year or so. But it's not $100, $200, $300 stuff. It's that stuff that's $5, $10, $20 that hopefully is 20, 30, 40
Right.
going forward. But I mean, Oriole stuff, yeah. I mean, if I sell Oriole stuff, it's probably because I have multiples of it, or
Sure.
I just yeah.
So is that your primary personal collection, Orioles? Did you venture out past that, or is it pretty much Orioles guy?
It's Orioles, and then I collect. I get into some Mike Schmidt was my first love,
Oh,
even though I'm an Oriole
okay.
guy.
I didn't
Yeah,
see that
I
coming.
mean, no, a lot of people don't. I mean, and so little tidbit is first pack of cards I ever opened was 1983 tops. You're going through it, you're looking at the back of the cards, and I'm like, this guy hits a lot of home runs. He's my new favorite player. When you're 8 years old, that's the total logic. Is if this
Oh,
guy hits a
100%.
lot of home runs, he's my favorite player.
Right.
Granted, Cal Ripken and Eddie Murray at that time were, could do no wrong.
Oh, yeah.
but
Yeah.
but Mike Schmidt was my favorite player. I mean, I cried the day he retired. You know,
Wow.
my mom, said you don't have to go to school today. I was like
That's
distraught.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I was 13, I think, when he retired. Because he retired in season 2, which was the weird part.
Yeah. I vaguely
And
remember that. Yeah.
yeah, retired in season, and I'm having breakfast, getting ready to go to the bus, and then was it Good Morning America or whatever we were watching? It said baseball legend Mike Schmidt announces a retirement. The
What?
waterworks. Just I
Aw.
for
Aw.
the entire day I was inconsolable. So Mike Schmidt is a PC, Carlos Delgado, and Frank Thomas. Frank
Can't go
Thomas is
wrong with the
just
big hurt.
because the big hurt was because every time I went to go see the Orioles, I grew up, 45 minutes from Memorial or Cannon Yards. Frank Thomas just hitting bombs off of us. And then Carlos Delgado, just because he has the best name in baseball, he got it. So
That's really cool. Yeah.
so
Totally.
that I mean
Totally.
that's so Orioles, Schmidt, Thomas, and Delgado. That's my PC.
Nice. Nice. Hey, I've had you chatting up a storm here for almost an hour. I don't want to steal. I don't want you getting in trouble, turn around, getting your butt kicked, or getting my butt kicked, or anything like that. But I really want to thank you for spending the time. Do you have any parting words or thoughts for anyone that might be watching that may be considering trying to become a card show promoter or just new to the hobby in general?
Well, those who want to become a card show promoter is try and find a mentor. you know, I asked a lot of questions even when I was younger. I mean, especially when I was younger. You know, how does this happen? How does this happen? You know, if you have a local promoter, I mean, they should. If you ask them questions, they should answer for them, or reach out to me. I mean, I can certainly guide you in how to do it. You know, I'm not the best one out there, but I'm
Pretty good
seemingly
though.
doing something almost right. Um, you know, again, it's ask questions. It's go to shows. You know, again, I put my hat on. It's the how with the attendee like this or with the vendor like this. You know, and write down and jot notes of when you go to a show what you liked. You know,
Sure.
I steal ideas from people all the time. I, I'm not gonna no shame in that game. I mean, it's
Oh no,
um
that's
I mean,
flattery, isn't it?
oh yeah, I mean, and but yeah, ask questions, you know, jot down notes of what you liked, what you didn't like, because a lot of what I do is what I didn't like or what I didn't or what I saw that I didn't like. You know, and if you're going to be that promoter, then you're in control over certain aspects of it.
Sure. Sure.
Um, so, but yeah, I mean, there's enough promoters out there that you know that would be more than willing to help. I'm sure just to kind of mentor somebody, answer questions. I mean, it never hurts to email somebody and just ask questions. And
Absolutely.
I would say start small, start local. You know, even if it's you know a 30 tables show at your local school gymnasium, and you lose money doing it, but you know, um, you got to take some bumps sometimes.
Sure.
And you know, I don't want anybody to think that getting into this and being a promoter means you're making tons of money, unless you're running a large regional show, you know, multiple times a year. You know, you should be doing it because you want to do it, not to make money.
There's the magic phrase right there.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's the biggest point that I can put into it is do it because you want to do it. You want to put on a good experience, and then you want to help the vendors to make money. You know,
Right.
judging a show and its success isn't how much money you make out of it. And there are some promoters out there that the number one way that they judge a show is by counting all the money at the end of it and going, "That was a good show. I made a lot of money." You know,
Sure. Sure.
and you know, hopefully that the ones that's how they operate, then it'll catch up to them, and then somebody in that area who wants to put on a good show, you know, will then, you know, hopefully, the ones that want to do right. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, thanks again for chalking up all this time to chat with me and hopefully give some people some good information. I will
no,
see
I had
you
fun. I had
soon.
fun. Yes. See you on the 14th.
That's the plan. I mean,
It's our two.
sometimes
Hey,
life gets in the
it's our
way, but
2 anniversary show, man. And
I know.
we're gonna have some killer giveaways.
All I do is if I ever win a giveaway, I just give it to some kid anyway. So, I mean,
I don't know. One of these you might not want to. No.
okay, okay. But
And,
thanks again.
you know, we got the Blackwater food truck coming, so that's some
That's good food. That's good
yummy
food.
barbecue, man. That was some yummy barbecue.
Absolutely, absolutely. Hey, so if I don't make it, obviously I'll definitely see you in February. Uh,
Yeah, definitely see you in February.
so thanks
Yeah,
again. Appreciate it.
at trade night this time.
I gotta make it happen. I swear. I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen this
Yeah,
time for sure. I'll bring some nice stuff.
there you go.
So thanks again. Have a great night, and we will talk to you soon.
All right, I sure appreciate it, man.